Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're here, episode 21 of Run with the Wind. We've got 3 episodes left, and last episode, that was incredible. Shindo has all of my respect because the dude is an absolute legend. Just his struggle and his perseverance. I made a comment about it on my notes here afterwards. I don't know if I talked about this a lot in the last episode, but there's been a really interesting comparison with Haiji and Kakeru, with Haiji and Prince, and now also with Haiji and Shindo, because way back in episode 11, we were talking about strength. And I commented then that Haiji and Shindo have a little bit of comparison with one another because Shindo's like, oh, I'm not strong. And then in episode 18, we see with Haiji where he tells Fujioka, he's like, oh, I'm not strong. And it's like, you two are two of the strongest people on the team for very different reasons. But, I mean, it's not just your physical strength, it's their endurance of their spirit. And for them to keep going despite the hardships that are put in front of them. Haiji with his injury, and then Shindo with his literal sickness. Like, his ability to persevere and keep on going and not give up, not only for himself, but for his teammates, is just... it moved me so much last episode. And then the conversation, and then the twins, Joji feeling so bad because he didn't run fast enough because he was distracted, Yuki taking care of Shindo, Kakeru and Haiji's conversation. I found myself as the episode, I went back and watched my reaction. I kept like leaning closer to the screen because I kept getting sucked into the episode because it was so good. And it was hard taking a break and not just diving into episode 21. But at the same time, when it comes to the end of a series, I find that it's easier for me to hold back and not binge because I don't want the series to end. Especially when it's something as good as this, because holy cow, y'all. So damn good. But before we start episode 21, I did find this post on Tumblr because as I've been going along and watching the series, I will slowly ease myself into Tumblr posts. I keep the spoiler tag on. I don't want any spoilers. But I found this post, and it was from the light novel that Run with the Wind is based off of. It's a translation of the light novel from chapter 9, which is what episode 20 is based off of. And it's about the conversation between Kakeru and Haiji, because I'm a sucker for anything involving Kakeru and Haiji. And there's a little bit of details here that weren't mentioned in the episode. They weren't added in. They're just extras, but they give a little more characterization to the dad, the coach for Haiji. And so the dialogue that's in the episode is still there, but it basically talks about how Haiji's parents met at a dating session, and his dad, he literally feels like he was born to run, because he said that his parents got together through a matchmaking session, and the reason why his dad married his mom was because she had a good physique and wasn't fat. And Kakeru's like, wait, what? And he's like, and Haiji says, obesity is the runner's worst enemy. My dad even went to my mom's side of the family to make sure none of her relatives were genetically predispositioned to gain weight. And he did all he could to produce an offspring who was suited to run. And turns out he did. And he says, thanks to my dad, I really did get a body that won't put on weight no matter how much I eat. He's not a bad person, really, but you can tell what his character must be like from that example alone. He's just ridiculously obsessed when it comes to track. So I thought that speaks volumes in addition, and then the rest of the chapter is just Haiji basically saying what he said in episode 20, that he really didn't care much about running. It just always felt like it was something he had to do until he couldn't anymore, and that's when he was compelled to run. So I'll put a link down below to that post because it's so good. I'll just put a link down below to it. But man, just something else. I was really amazed with that when I found it. I was like, oh, that adds so much extra detail. But yeah, so episode 21, a goodbye to this beautiful world. So we're on Yuki and Nico. And I've been really excited to see Nico run because we haven't really seen Nico and Yuki. We haven't seen much focus on either of them. They've been in the sidelines. We've had Yuki dealing with his family, like off to the side, and Kakeru and him kind of had a conversation about it. And then Nico's always been present in the series, but we've not had a lot of focus. Kind of like the twins. We've not had a lot of focus until now on him. So I'm really curious what we're going to get with these two this episode, I'm assuming. And then I'm assuming we're going to go to King and Kakeru and Haiji for the last 2 episodes. I don't know. Last episode, Shindo's whole thing was just, oh, it was so good. It was so hard to watch, but it was so good. Like, the payoff was just great. And I know the coach now is going to be like, we don't want this happening the next day. They're lucky that Shindo rounded out the race on day 1 because they can start fresh today for this race, but at the same time they're in last place. I'm assuming I'm assuming that they get released to run at the times that they came in to make it fair, and that's going to put them behind a lot. But if anybody can catch us up, it's these last 5, so we shall see, y'all. But thank you for listening to me rambling. We're going to get into this and watch episode 21 of Run with the Wind here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Oh. This episode. Holy cow. I loved the Yuki and Nico focus in this episode, because Yuki and Nico have been characters that they've not been in the background of the series. They've always been at the forefront, but we just haven't gotten a lot of details about them. Nico, his struggle, like knowing that he didn't just do track and field, he liked running. And his coach was basically like, you don't have the physique for it, so why don't you just do shot put instead, because you'll be better at it. And him just kind of being so discouraged by that. And Kakeru and Haiji and them encouraging him to run, and then him like coughing up. There's a lot of blood in this episode, like him coughing up like blood from all the running, and then Yuki's feet, like when they shot down his feet and his shoes are just soaked in blood. Oh my gosh. But 2 seconds from breaking the record for the section, from winning the section. Yuki, all the respect for Yuki too, and the idea of taking on these hardships and dealing with it, like his family coming out to, and it looked like, based on that little girl's age, it looked like maybe him remarrying was something that happened right when he started university, and he just cut ties with his family, but they still came out to support him, and he's realizing that now, and it's like, The sports doctor being there makes me nervous, because it's like, why would you call a sports doctor the day of the race specifically to come out and see you? So of course Kakeru thinks there's something up, but what can you do now? And Haiji of course isn't going to tell us anything, but I like the idea that King is with Sakaki in the same league, so that's interesting. I'm wondering if that's going to lend, what that's going to lend to. And Sakaki, as much of an arrogant turd as he is, he's just still stuck in the same mentality that Kakeru was based on that high school coach. Like the winning is everything mentality. And he's still stuck in it. And so it's hard to get mad at him at this point. Like, I don't like him at all as a character, but it's hard to be, mad at him, because it's like, well, he's just a product of his environment. And he's just acting according to what that molding has been. And I loved that I'm glad it was not Kakeru there with King. I'm glad Musa went, because Musa was the better person to be there. Like, nobody needs to fight during the race, especially before Kakeru and Fujioka's race. I love that it's of course it's gonna be Fujioka and him together in the same leg. I mean, we all knew that going into this race. But I like that Fujioka's like, this is his last year. So this is his last Hakeone Ekiden. And he's like, I'm going to set a new record for this. I don't care if you break it later, but I'm going to set it now. I've bared this weight for 4 years, and now I'm just going to, it's like his time to shrug it off. Like, he's just going to let it all loose in this section. And that preview shot of him looking intimidating as all get out. Oh my gosh. But this show, just the emotion of it, of Yuki running in the snow, of him and Shindo supporting him, and I love our boys, how they support each other, and just the interactions this whole series is so organic and natural between all of them, just back and forth. I love the driver when Joda's like, I like Hannah, and Kakeru's like, I know. like everyone knows except you, and the driver's just sitting there like, So I'm curious next episode if we're going to get focus on if we're going to get to King and Kakeru, I'm assuming, and then the last episode is just going to be Haiji, just ending it with Haiji. That whole conversation with Nico and Haiji too, where Haiji first met Nico, and he's like, "I'm an athlete," and he's like, "Oh, what, are you slow?" And he's like, "No, I'm weak." And it's to know how much Haiji's grown in 4 years, from Haiji going to thinking that he can't do something because he doesn't have any strength, and Nico saying, like, hell, you're weak. You're so strong. You've built this strength for 4 years. And it's a very good parallel to Fujioka. You've built this weight and carried it for 4 years, and now is your time to let it go. So I think it's interesting Fujioka's in the second to last leg. So that means he's going to get to see Haiji finish. And I'm very much all in on the Kakeru Haiji bandwagon, but I'm not going to lie, the friendship between Haiji and Fujioka is precious. Like episode 18 where Fujioka defended him and he's like, "Don't you dare give up." And it was like, the feels. The feels. Like I can multi-ship, right? We can multi-ship this show. Of course we can. I really love the fact that Kakeru and Fujioka are going to be there at the end of it all to support Haiji, I'm assuming, no matter what happens. It's so sad because all these racers are saying that they're going to quit after this. Like, I know Yuki's graduating, so Yuki won't be able to do the Ekiden after this. And Haiji's graduating, so he won't be able to do the Ekiden after this. But Nico was a year behind, so I thought he still had one more year to go. He could still do it. Joda's like, "Oh, I'm not going to do it after this. Joji's going to continue, but I'm not." It's like, damn it, guys. Keep the team together. And everybody's like, "Oh, this is your only chance." And it's like, yes, that would make sense. It would be hard to gather up enough people to qualify again. It would be very difficult to do so. But like Kakeru said, he's like, I love that Kakeru doesn't have that mentality. He's like, "I'm going to come back next year." He's like, "You can break the record this year in your 4th year. I'm just a first year. I'm going to come back next year. You'll only have that record for 10 minutes. For as long as the race is. And then I'm going to come back and take it away." So regardless of what happens at the end of this series, regardless of whether they get into the top, because right now they were 15th or they were 16th when Nico was running. So I don't know what place they're in now, what place that they're in. But oh my gosh. So even if they don't make the top 10, I feel personally that Kakeru will still run next year and try to keep the team going. He's already exhibited that he can be a Demon Senpai. When he chased after those twins in episode 17, he was basically Demon Senpai Jr., so he can do it. He can do the Haiji leadership role. So I have a feeling Kakeru will run, and I have a feeling that Joji will run too, because he really likes it, and him and Kakeru can be competitive with one another. So if they have to find 8 more guys and do it all over again, I feel like Prince would stay on the team because he doesn't want to move. For another couple years, I feel like Musa and Shindo would stay on the team. So there's 5 guys. You can find 5 more if King and Nico don't do it and Joda don't do it. But I'm like, man, I want them to stay on. But like, even if they don't, I think that part of the team would still try to go on and qualify. So that's so wonderful, though. That this show, I love it. I can't believe we have 2 episodes left. So speaking of that, we have 2 episodes left after this. If you have not voted, there is a poll down below to vote on the sports or club activity anime. Some of them aren't sports. I realized that after last episode. I'm like, well, some of the choices aren't exactly sports anime, but they're club activity anime. Down below as your options. Vote for any and all that you want. And then the top one is going to be the one that replaces the show. All of the ones that are in that poll are anime that I do eventually want to watch. So if your choice doesn't get picked this round, it's going to be on the next round. So there's that. But yeah, guys, man, I'm so excited for the next 2 episodes. This series, the last 3 episodes, ever since this race has started, it's been so epic and so wonderful that all the emotions, guys. I can't wait. So I hope you all enjoyed this reaction. Please feel free to comment down below. Please no spoilers. And yeah, we'll be back next time. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe and take care. And I'll talk to you again soon with episode 22 of Run with the Wind. Bye.